It is 3 in the morning. The room is dark. Everyone around you is asleep. And you are lying there, completely still, eyes open. Your mind running through a conversation that happened 3 days ago. A decision you cannot undo. A future you cannot see clearly. A version of yourself you are not sure you recognize anymore. You know you need to sleep. You tell yourself to stop thinking, but the thoughts do not stop. They spiral, they loop. They return to the same points again and again like a song you did not choose to play, but cannot turn off. You pick up your phone, put it down, look at the ceiling, and in the silence of that hour, 3 a.m., the hour when no masks are required, when nothing can distract you from yourself, you feel something you cannot quite name. What is that feeling? And why does it always come at 3 in the morning? Marcus Aurelius had a name for it, not 3 a.m. specifically. The ancient Romans did not divide the night that way. But he had a name for the hour when the noise falls away and you are left alone with the truth of your inner life. He called it the moment of confrontation, and he believed it was not something to escape. He believed it was the most important moment of any person's day. Most people spend their entire lives running from that moment, and most of them never understand why they cannot sleep. Here is the truth that Marcus Aurelius understood 2,000 years ago, and that modern psychology is only now beginning to prove. You cannot sleep at 3 in the morning because some part of you is trying to tell you something, and you have been too busy, too distracted, too afraid to listen during the daylight hours. The Stoics had a concept called the examined life. Socrates said that the unexamined life is not worth living. Marcus Aurelius took that idea and built it into his daily practice. Every morning, he asked himself what kind of man he intended to be that day. Every evening, he reviewed what kind of man he had actually been. He did not do this as a punishment. He did it as a practice of radical honesty, because he understood that the things you refuse to examine during the day will find you at night. Your 3 a.m. is not insomnia. It is an examination you have been postponing. Think about what your mind returns to in those dark hours. It is never random. The mind at 3 a.m. is ruthlessly efficient. It strips away everything unimportant and goes directly to the things that matter. The relationship you are not sure about. The work that no longer feels meaningful. The version of yourself you have been presenting to the world that does not quite match the person you feel yourself to be on the inside. These are not anxieties. They are questions, important ones. And they come at 3 a.m. because that is the only time you are quiet enough to hear them. Marcus Aurelius wrote something in Meditations that I want you to sit with. He said that at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain about if I am going to do what I was born for? This was not a motivational statement. It was a man talking himself through the exact same darkness you feel right now, the same heaviness, the same reluctance to face another day of uncertainty, the same exhaustion that has nothing to do with physical tiredness and everything to do with carrying something heavy for too long without putting it down. He had that conversation with himself every single day, and he wrote it down, not because he had the answers, but because the honesty of facing the question was itself the practice. Now here is what I want you to understand about 3 a.m. that changes everything. 3 a.m. is not the problem. 3 a.m. is the solution trying to reach you. The Stoics believed that every human being has two lives, the life they are living and the life they are capable of living. And the gap between those two lives is where the suffering lives. When that gap is small, when who you are and who you know yourself to be are close, you sleep easily. When that gap is wide, when you have been living someone else's expectations, someone else's definition of success, someone else's version of your own story, the gap speaks, and it speaks loudest at 3 in the morning. This is why people who have recently made a major change in their lives, left a relationship that was wrong, changed careers, moved cities, began living more honestly, often sleep better immediately. Not because life became easier, it almost certainly became harder, but because the gap closed, because what they are doing and who they are began to match. And the quiet part of the mind, the part that only speaks at 3 a.m., finally had nothing urgent left to say. Epictetus, who spent the first half of his life as a literal slave, wrote that no man is free who is not free in his own mind. He understood something about internal prisons that most free people never examine, that the chains we cannot see are the ones that bind us most completely, and that the rattle of those invisible chains is loudest in the dark. What chains are rattling for you at 3 a.m.? Not metaphorically. Actually, what is it that your mind returns to? Because whatever it is, that is where your work is. That is the conversation you have been avoiding. That is the decision waiting to be made. That is the honest acknowledgement that something needs to change. Marcus Aurelius did not journal as a hobby. He journaled because he understood that the thoughts which are not written down, not examined, not brought into the light, take up permanent residence in the dark, and they grow there, and they speak at 3 a.m. You do not have to start a journal tonight, but I want to offer you something the Stoics offered their students when they could not sleep. A single question, one question to ask yourself, honestly, in the dark. What am I not saying? Not to anyone else, to yourself. What truth about your own life, your own desires, your own sense of what you are here to do, have you been refusing to say out loud, even to yourself? Because most 3 a.m. restlessness is not anxiety about the future. It is honesty about the present that has nowhere else to go. The Stoics taught something they called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, the practice of sitting with difficult truths during the day, voluntarily, so that they do not ambush you at night. It sounds uncomfortable. It is. But the discomfort of voluntary examination during the daylight hours is far smaller than the suffering of involuntary confrontation at 3 in the morning. Marcus Aurelius knew what it was to lie awake under the weight of an empire, under the weight of decisions that would affect millions, under the weight of a life that was, in many ways, not the life he would have chosen. He was a philosopher forced to be a king, a man who wanted quiet and was given chaos, a person whose inner life was rich and complex and private, and whose outer life was public and demanding and relentless. And yet he slept. Not because the problems went away, but because he had learned to examine them in the light rather than avoid them in the dark. He had learned to close the gap between who he was and who he intended to be. Not perfectly, not permanently, but daily, one day at a time, one honest page at a time. Here is the invitation of 3 a.m. that no one talks about. It is the only hour of the day when you cannot lie to yourself. Every other hour, there is noise. There are people, screens, tasks, roles to perform, faces to wear. But at 3 a.m., in the dark, alone, you know exactly what you know. You feel exactly what you feel. The truth of your life, as you actually experience it, is right there. Unfiltered, unmediated, clear. Most people find that terrifying. The Stoics found it sacred. You are not broken because you cannot sleep. You are not anxious because something is wrong with your mind. You are awake at 3 a.m. because some part of you is alive enough, honest enough, awake enough to know that something matters. That your life matters. That the gap between who you are and who you could be is worth losing sleep over. That is not a problem. That is the beginning of everything. The next time 3 a.m. finds you lying still in the dark, instead of reaching for your phone, instead of trying to force sleep that will not come, try this. Just ask the question, what am I not saying? And then listen. The answer that comes in the dark at 3 in the morning is almost always the truest thing you know.